Hi everyone, Kate here from Faith, Hope and Laundry. I hope you're having a great week. We're going to do some baking today. It's a Saturday afternoon here in New Zealand, about 3 o'clock, and I thought it would just be good to do some baking and get some those recipes into the freezer for the week coming. I've got this book here that I've had sitting in my cupboard for a while. It's 201 lunchbox recipes. There's savoury and sweet recipes in here. So I'm going to do 2 recipes from this book. They use frozen mixed berries and then also some bananas as well. I've got these ones that I need to use up. And then the third recipe is something called pikelets. It's a very Kiwi, New Zealand recipe. You may have heard of it. They're like little sort of pancake type recipe. So we're going to do those, and then hopefully they won't all get eaten this weekend, and I'll have something to put into the kids' lunch boxes or just for snacks during the week. So let's get going with the first recipe. So this first recipe that we're going to do are oat and mixed berry muesli bars. These ones here, you can see that. And I've pre-measured a lot of these ingredients just so that it's quicker to show you how this is done. Super easy. So on this plate here I have got half a cup of firmly packed brown sugar, 1.5 cups of, this is meant to be all wholemeal flour, but I've got a mix of wholemeal and just plain flour, and then 1.5 cups of rolled oats. So that's going to all go into there. And then for the spices, again I've had to just improvise a little bit here. I've got a teaspoon of what should be mixed spice, but I've just had to mix it up myself. So there's some ginger and some nutmeg and cinnamon that is in here. And then half a teaspoon of baking soda as the raising agent, so that's going in there. And we'll just give that a bit of a mix. So that is pretty much your dry ingredients. And this is just a 1 bowl mix, so super easy. And then for the wet ingredients, we have got oil, honey and egg. There's meant to be vanilla essence in here, but I haven't got that, so that's just going to have to be left out this time. So we've got a mix of oil. I've got coconut oil here, but you could use vegetable oil, any vegetable oil. Just a neutral flavoured oil would be fine. So that's going in there. And that is 1/4 cup of honey and half a cup of oil. And then also we're putting 1 egg in there. I've got the oven on 170 degrees Celsius fan forced. If you don't have a fan oven, then it would be 190 degrees Celsius. I'll put the equivalent in Fahrenheit just on the screen here as well, in case your oven, measures in a different temperature setting. And then into here, I've got sultanas. You could use, well, really any dried fruit. You could use cranberries, anything of your choice, but I've got 1/3 cup of sultanas going in there. And then with the frozen berries, this actually needs to be 1 cup and 1/3 of frozen berries. So I'm just going to put a few more of these blackberries in here, some of these smaller ones I think. So recipes like this are obviously really great because if you've got these things just in the freezer, then they're really store cupboard, ingredients that you can just throw something together pretty quickly. Okay, so we'll just call that 1 1/3 cups of frozen berries. And I'm actually going to just make it a little bit more flavoursome for the kids, because I know they'll like this. I'm just going to put a few chocolate chips in there as well. And then just using a loaf type tin or a lamington pan, just something that's going to be around 20 centimetres by 30 centimetres approximately. I'm just going to line that with a piece of baking paper or parchment paper and press all of this into the pan. And I'll just press all of that into there. Until it's nice and spread out and even across the pan. Looks delicious and very pretty with all of the redness of those berries coming through there. Okay, so I think that's probably firmly enough pressed down there. And this is just going to go into the oven for about 20 to 25 minutes or until it's set and golden on top. Okay, so I've got the oat berry slice in the oven at the moment, and yeah, that's in there for 20 minutes or so. So while that's cooking, I'll get on with the next recipe, which is also using some mixed berries again, and it is a mini mixed berry banana bread, but I'm going to make them into a muffin case. So I'll just show you those ones there. I've got my dishwasher on, and that's just going to be doing a cycle of those dishes we've just used, so that's always good to get that going while you're doing something else. And I'm just going to use the same bowl again because it's very similar ingredients. So of the dry ingredients, I have got 2 cups of what would be self-raising flour. I didn't have self-raising flour, but you can always make that yourself by doing, for 1 cup of flour, you do 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and that makes it self-raising flour. And then I've got a ½ teaspoon of baking soda, and then sugar. This is meant to be caster sugar, but I've just got normal sugar, and that is ½ cup. So that's just going into there. Give that a little mix around. And then we're straight on to the wet ingredients. So we're just going to make a little well in the middle there. And then I have got oil. Again, all I had was coconut oil. It does actually call for olive oil, which is a little bit unusual because olive oil is quite a strong flavoured oil, but I've got 1/3 of a cup of oil going in, but again you could use any sort of neutral flavoured or tasting oil there. And then it asks for ½ cup of buttermilk. So you can adapt this. Buttermilk is like a tangy product of, making butter. Is great in baking. It's quite a liquidy, similar to yogurt consistency, but I don't have buttermilk, so I'm just going to use just plain yogurt. So that is ½ cup going into there. And then eggs, 2 eggs, just at room temperature, if you can preferably have them. Vanilla extract I don't have, so I'm just going to omit that. And then we've got the bananas. I've already mashed these, so this is the equivalent of a cup, which would be 2 decent sized bananas, and ripe bananas as well. So I'm just going to give that a mix around. Make sure those eggs are nice and broken up. And then for the berries, it just says 1 cup of frozen mixed berries. And I'm going to put 1/3 of a cup in here first, and then we're going to top the muffins with the remainder of the 1/4 cup of berries. Just want to make sure we get all of that dry flour that's at the bottom there. Okay, so that looks nice and well mixed. So these berries here, well, they did have raspberries in them, but I've used them in the other recipe, so I'm just going to use the blueberries and the blackberries that are in here. So 3/4 of a cup, which would be about that. And just fold that in. So any of these recipes are great for putting into the freezer. If you double or triple batched them, that would be a great idea as well if you had enough ripe bananas and just wanted to really get ahead and do some cooking for the week, but be able to put some into the freezer as well. So I've just got these muffin cases here, which will just hopefully keep the tin a bit cleaner. I'm not sure how much this mixture will actually make, but it said on here it makes 8 of the little loaf tin sized banana bread, so hopefully I'll get 12 out of this mixture. I'll just start by putting 1/4 cup into each mould and we'll see how we go. And then I'm just going to pop a few more of these on the top of each of them, the equivalent of about 1/4 cup. Some of these do have more berries in them than others, so try and just even that out a little bit. Okay, so those are going to go into the oven at the same temperature, 170 degrees Celsius, for about 25 minutes as well. This is what the berry slice looks like. It looks delicious. It's nice and golden brown. That only took 25 minutes. My last recipe is a recipe called pikelets. They are very similar to a pancake, but in New Zealand we make them just quite small, almost like a little sort of bite-sized pancake, and they are flatter than a normal pancake. So when you make them, they're not like super, fluffy and high like a normal pancake. So I'll just show you what I've got in this bowl down here. So I've got my pan already heating. It's just on a medium heat. I've got it on 6 on my induction hob at the moment. And then in this bowl is my dry ingredients. So I've got a cup of flour. Now you can use self-raising flour, or I've just used plain flour, and then I've added in a teaspoon of baking powder. I've got 1/4 cup of sugar. So these pancakes are not really super, pikelets are not a super sweet recipe. There's a little bit of salt, about 1/4 teaspoon. So I'm just going to give that a bit of a mix before I add in the wet ingredients. And again, you could double or triple this recipe, no problem. Got 1 egg. Oh. And then milk. You could use any kind of milk, dairy milk, oat milk, and nut milk. And we're just going to pop in about 3/4 of a cup, but if the mixture still seems a little bit dry, then you can add a little bit more milk, and we're just going to whisk that together. I can tell this pan is getting quite hot now. I'm just going to actually turn it down a little bit. And these don't take long at all to cook on each side, just like a pancake really. And of course it always happens, well, quite often happens when you're making these kind of recipes, that the first one or two always end up being a dud. But we'll see how that goes. So that is, yeah, nice and enough of a sort of wet consistency. As I said, very similar to a pancake. So I'm just going to spray my pan. Whatever spray you've got, vegetable oil, this is just a coconut oil. And then I'm just going to drop teaspoonfuls of this mixture onto my pan. Spread it out a little bit. So you can probably get a good 4 or 5 of these if you have a big enough pan, all cooking at once. That's my timer I can hear going in the background for my muffins. So I'm just going to let those cook for just maybe a minute on each side. Let's take these out of here. These smell delicious and look amazing. There we go. They're berry muffins, they look delicious. Let's flip these over. See how they're looking. Oh, not too bad at all actually. So they should come away from the pan fairly easily, like a pancake, you know, when they've been cooked enough. This one's probably going to be a little bit overcooked, I think. Oh no, not too bad. There you go. So they really only need probably about a minute or so on each side, just until they're very lightly brown like that. So I'm just going to finish cooking the rest of this batter mixture and pop them on a plate, and then we can either have them with, you know, jam and cream or jam and yogurt. You could have them with something savoury on them. They're great for lunch boxes or after school snacks. So these are all cooked now. We're just going to cut into the OT slice and to see what that looks like. I'm just going to cut it into squares rather than long pieces. It's lovely and moist. Looks really, really tasty and golden brown on the top. And then these muffins have come out really beautifully as well. I'll just show you what they look like inside. Nice and fluffy and moist as well. And then with the pikelets, what you can do is you can just have them with straight jam or Nutella, marmalade, anything that you prefer. So I'm just going to pop a little bit of jam on there. My girls are going to be the taste testers for these bits of baking we've done this afternoon. And then you can either put some cream or a little dollop of yogurt on there. They're perfect for lunch boxes or just an after school snack. So my girls have tried both the oat slice and the muffin, and they approve and say, yeah, that they're tasty and yummy and would be perfect to go into a lunchbox or an after school snack. Thank you for joining me. I hope some of these recipes might be helpful for you to make in the week, for your own family. I'll link the recipes down below, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye. Have a great week.